Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Just waiting for people to come. Inshallah.
One brother is praying.
Okay. No worries, inshallah. We'll probably start. So, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. So, welcome back, inshallah. We'll jump straight into it, inshallah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
ولا تقولوا لمن يقتل
لمن يقتل
في سبيل الله
في سبيل الله
أموات بل أحياء ولكن لا تشعرون ولنبلونكم بشيء من الخوف والجوع ونقص من الأموال والأنفس والثمرات وبشر الصابرين الذين إذا أصابتهم مصيبة قالوا إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون أولئك عليهم صلوات من ربهم ورحمة وأولئك هم المهتدون إن الصفا والمروة من شعائر الله فمن حج البيت أو اعتمر فلا جناح عليه أن يطوف بهما ومن تطوع خيرا فإن الله شاكر عليم إن الذين يكتمون ما أنزلنا من البينات والهدى من بعد ما بيناه للناس في الكتاب أولئك يلعنهم الله ويلعنهم اللاعنون إلا الذين تابوا وأصلحوا وبينوا فأولئك أتوب عليهم وأنا التواب الرحيم إن الذين كفروا وماتوا وهم كفار أولئك عليهم لعنة الله والملائكة والناس أجمعين خالدين فيها لا يخفف عنهم العذاب ولا هم ينظرون وإلهكم إله واحد لا إله إلا هو الرحمن الرحيم إن في خلق السماوات والأرض واختلاف الليل والنهار والفلك التي تجري في البحر بما ينفع الناس وما أنزل الله من السماء من ماء فأحيا به الأرض بعد موتها وبث فيها من كل دابة وتصريف الرياح والسحاب المسخر بين السماء والأرض لآيات لقوم يعقلون ومن الناس من يتخذ من دون الله أندادا يحبونهم كحب الله والذين آمنوا أشد حبا لله ولو يرى الذين ظلموا إذ يرون العذاب أن القوة لله جميعا وأن الله شديد العذاب إذ تبرأ الذين اتبعوا من الذين اتبعوا ورأوا العذاب وتقطعت بهم الأسباب وقال الذين اتبعوا لو أن لنا كرة فنتبرأ منهم كما تبرأوا منا كذلك يريهم الله أعمالهم حسرات عليهم وما هم بخارجين من النار يا أيها الناس كلوا مما في الأرض حلالا طيبا ولا تتبعوا خطوات الشيطان إنه لكم عدو مبين إنما يأمركم بالسوء والفحشاء وأن تقولوا على الله ما لا تعلمون وإذا قيل لهم اتبعوا ما أنزل الله قالوا بل نتبع ما ألفينا عليه آباءنا أولو كان آباؤهم لا يعقلون شيئا ولا يهتدون ومثل الذين كفروا كمثل الذي ينعق بما لا يسمع إلا دعاء ونداء صم بكم عمي فهم لا يعقلون يا أيها الذين آمنوا كلوا من طيبات ما رزقناكم واشكروا لله إن كنتم إياه تعبدون إنما حرم عليكم الميتة والدم ولحم الخنزير وما أهل به لغير الله فمن اضطر غير باغ ولا عاد فلا إثم عليه إن الله
إن الله
غفور رحيم
غفور رحيم
إن الذين
إن الذين
يكتمون ما
يكتمون ما
أنزل الله
أنزل الله
من الكتاب
من الكتاب
يشترون به
ويشترون به
ثمنا قليلا
ثمنا قليلا
أولئك ما يأكلون في بطونهم إلا النار ولا يكلمهم الله يوم القيامة ولا يزكيهم ولهم عذاب أليم أولئك الذين اشتروا الضلالة بالهدى والعذاب بالمغفرة فما أصبرهم على النار ذلك بأن الله نزل الكتاب بالحق وإن الذين اختلفوا في الكتاب لفي شقاق بعيد ليس البر أن تولوا وجوهكم قبل المشرق والمغرب ولكن البر من آمن بالله واليوم الآخر والملائكة والكتب والنبيين وآتى المال على حبه ذوي القربى واليتامى والمساكين وابن السبيل والسائلين وفي الرقاب وأقام الصلاة وآتى الزكاة والموفون بعهدهم إذا عاهدوا والصابرين في البأساء والضراء وحين البأس أولئك الذين صدقوا وأولئك هم المتقون يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم القصاص في القتلى
قتلى
الحر بالحر
الحر بالحر
والعبد بالعبد
والعبد بالعبد
والأنثى بالأنثى
والأنثى بالأنثى
فمن عفي له من أخيه
له من أخيه
شيء فاتباع بالمعروف وأداء إليه بإحسان ذلك تخفيف من ربكم ورحمة فمن اعتدى بعد ذلك فله عذاب أليم ولكم في القصاص حياة يا أولي الألباب لعلكم تتقون كتب عليكم إذا حضر أحدكم الموت إن ترك خيرا الوصية للوالدين والأقربين بالمعروف حقا على المتقين فمن بدله بعدما سمعه فإنما إثمه على الذين يبدلونه إن الله سميع عليم فمن خاف من موص جنفا أو إثما فأصلح بينهم فلا إثم عليه إن الله غفور رحيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون أياما معدودات فمن كان منكم مريضا أو على سفر فعدة من أيام أخر وعلى الذين يطيقونه فدية طعام مسكين فمن تطوع خيرا فهو خير له وأن تصوموا خير لكم
لكم
إن كنتم
إن كنتم
تعلمون.
تعلمون.
شهر رمضان
شهر رمضان
الذي أنزل
الذي أنزل
فيه القرآن
فيه القرآن
هدى للناس
هدى للناس
وبينات من
وبينات من
الهدى والفرقان
الهدى والفرقان.
فمن شهد
فمن شهد
منكم الشهر
منكم الشهر
فليصمه
فليصم.
ومن كان
ومن كان
مريضا أو على
مريضا أو على
سفر فعدة
سفر فعدة
من أيام
من أيام
أخر
أخر
يريد الله
يريد الله
بكم اليسر
بكم اليسر
ولا يريد
ولا يريد
بكم العسر
بكم العسر
ولتكملوا العدة
ولتكملوا العدة
ولتكبروا الله
ولتكبروا الله
على ما هداكم
على ما هداكم
ولعلكم تشكرون.
ولعلكم تشكرون.
وإذا سألك
وإذا سألك
عبادي عني
عبادي عني
فإني قريب
فإني قريب
أجيب دعوة
أجيب دعوة
الداع إذا دعان
إذا دعان.
فليستجيبوا لي
فليستجيبوا لي
وليؤمنوا بي
وليؤمنوا بي
لعلهم يرشدون.
لعلهم يرشدون.
صدق الله العظيم.
صدق الله العظيم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. So mashallah, we read another 5 pages, which is very good. So I was going through, last week I mentioned I'll be going through each of the different letters of lawnmower. So it's a mnemonic that helps you understand the Quran, and understanding what the Quran is, or it enables you to reflect on the Quran rather than necessarily understand it entirely. Today's ayah is one that relates to the letter L. So L stands for the length of an ayah. So how long is either the ayah or the surah or the passage in the surah or passages within the ayah, and what that reflects on the meaning? What do we understand from that? So Allah Azza wa Jalla says in this ayah, which we'll look at today, it's a famous ayah. It's an ayah which Allah Azza wa Jalla describes something which is piety, taqwa. And what he does here is something very interesting, and I just want you to look at the length of the different passages here. So he starts off by negating something. He says piety is not for you to turn your face or face your, in the way of east or west, or to turn your face in the east or west. So the first thing is look at the length of which he's negating something. So he's saying piety is not this. And then he goes, what? وَلَكِنَّ الْبِرَّ, however, piety is مَنْ آمَنَ بِاللَّهِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ وَالْمَلَائِكَةِ وَالْكِتَابِ وَالنَّبِيِّينَ وَآتَى الْمَالَ عَلَى حُبِّهِ ذَوِي الْقُرْبَى وَالْيَتَامَى وَالْمَسَاكِينَ. Okay, and we'll carry on. But what do you notice the difference between the length? The first one is لَيْسَ الْبِرَّ أَن تُوَلُّوا وُجُوهَكُمْ قِبْلَ الْمَشْرِقِ وَالْمَغْرِبِ. It's short. And what effect does the length of that have upon your understanding of that ayah without needing to understand what it's saying? When you're negating something, piety is not, and you can say it all in a short sentence, it's showing that this part of piety, this thing which people think piety is often simplistic and often seen to be very easy. And it's something you can encompass in a breath. Whereas this latter part, try and say this whole sentence here, in a single breath, like in a single passage. And
One single breath.
as in, I'm just making an analogy of comparison or between the length
Isn't
of
that
one
the
or the
whole-
other.
Oh, it's one long verse, but it's all connected, isn't it?
The rest of this ayah is entirely talking about what piety is.
Okay.
So the passage which is talking about what piety is, which is piety is in fact that you believe in Allah and the last day and the angels and the books and the messengers, and He gives His money to those who are kind of family and the orphans and the needy, and and so on and so on. You kind of see this lengthy list. So what Allah Azza wa Jal does when He makes things different lengths of passages, He's kind of indicating a meaning of something. What we can learn here is people often see things as very shallow. And we did this in our Sunday school with the kids, and it was amazing some of the things they came out with actually. So it's very clear that when you have something very simple, when people see a task as like, I'm pious already, I'm a good man, right? It's instant that they see something very quick and easy and simple. Whereas Allah Azza wa Jal has made the length extensive, very, very long. It goes on and on and on and on and on. And actually He lists over 15 different things. And you can almost feel that by the end of the list, it's almost like it's going to keep going, it's going to keep going, it's going to keep going. Which brings it to the second point. When the length of an ayah is extensive, Allah Azza wa Jal wants to teach us something. That if you think you're pious, then let me list to you what piety is. And he goes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How many of these have you done? And as you go down the list, you kind of feel the first one is what? To believe in Allah Azza wa Jal. And then, then the Day of Judgment, and then the angels, and then the book. And then it kind of gets more and more smaller tasks, but just as important. So you can't really, look where establishing prayer comes in. So you've got all these other items before it, and then the prayer comes in here. And then it kind of carries on to patience here, and in different circumstances, etc., etc. Allah Azza wa Jal wants to teach us in a simple way, in a visual way, when you're reading, that piety isn't this simplistic thing of being a Muslim, but it's actually something that's very complex, and there's a long list of things. And even when you think you've encompassed it, you should really humble yourself to realize there's actually a lot more that you've probably missed out. And you can see that through a very simple indication, through just the length of the ayah, where He's chosen to say a very simple sentence at the beginning, and then when He's describing what piety is in fact, it's a very, very lengthy sentence. And the final thing I wanted to point your attention to is the nature of what He's mentioned. So it's very interesting, out of all the things He could have said piety is not, He's kind of very much used something which is, piety is not about qibla al-mashriq al-maghribi, about directing yourself to the east or west.
Why east or west?
This is what I was going to ask. Why would you use this phrase as the thing to say piety is not? Now you could have said piety is not simply to grow a beard, or piety is simply not to wear a hat, or why has He chosen piety is not to turn your face east or west? So it's quite an odd phrase. There's historical context and there's tafsir behind it.
Is it because when you say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, or no? Simple as that.
Allah knows best, and there's other meanings, but there's a meaning here that I've reflected on, and it came to me, and I thought this was beautiful. Before you head on a journey, what do? You get the directions and the map. So people have almost thought they've finished the journey before they've started. Whereas actually the rest of the journey is to believe in Allah on the last day and to do all these things. So these people think they're pious when they haven't even started. And Allah Azza wa Jal is saying, you've got all this stuff to do still. Right? Do you see that? The idea of when you head on a journey, the first thing you do is figure out where you are, even before perhaps looking on a map. You need to see which direction are you facing, and then you look at the map, and then you turn the map in the direction and you go, right, I need to go here. So these people are almost saying, we've barely started the journey, but we're pious. When Allah Azza wa Jalla was to say, look, actually, you've not, and these are all these different things.
The other direction, one mashriq and maghrib instead of the other.
East and west.
Yeah.
So it's not about whether you face east or west. It's not about which direction you faced or which idea.
Comes after Allah talk about changing the Qibla from Jerusalem to Mecca, and then Joe started saying, "Oh, your religion is not because you're not facing Jerusalem."
Yeah, it's to do. As I mentioned, and to caveat this, there is a historical tafsir and specific context which is revealed, and that context is an aspect of its meaning that you can't divorce from it, because as was pointed out, the idea that the Qibla was changed for the believers from facing the east, which was to the west, which was towards Jerusalem, to facing the east, which was towards Mecca. And then people began to say, oh, you've changed and you're different and so on. And there was a criticism of the Prophet ﷺ. But what I'm saying is, when you reflect on this for your own internal reflections on the life and the understandings that can come to you, you can kind of get other reflections, and you're allowed within parameters to do that in the Quran. And the tools I want to show you isn't so much necessarily the reflection. These are my reflections and things that I've gained, but it's more things for you to look out for. So next time you read an ayah, look out for which bits are long, which bits are short, and the length of an ayah compared to the length of other ayahs. And I've got a list of these things and things that our kids have come up with actually when we're looking at this. But it's actually very incisive. When you begin to notice these things, you begin to see it's very insightful. You see a lot of things in the Quran that you wouldn't have noticed. So ayahs which are very short and why they're short, and ayahs which are very like, why is the longest ayah the ayah regarding financial transactions and debt? That's the longest ayah in the Quran. And why is the shortest surah about Al-Kawthar, which is paradise, a water fill in paradise? And why are the ayahs of Surah Al-Ikhlas very short and punchy? قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ اللَّهُ الصَّمَدُ لَمْ يَلِدْ وَلَمْ يُولَدْ وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفُوًا أَحَدٌ. There's meanings behind these things in terms of the lengths, and Allah has kind of not placed a single vowel or letter in the Quran except for a purpose and a meaning. So this is just one of the things. Inshallah, I'm going to go through the list. So next we'll do A, and it's little tools for you as you're reading the Quran to reflect upon, so that you can just begin to see what aspects of the Quran you can take away. And in fact, this is something Allah wants us to do in the Quran. You know, He says, أَفَلَا يَتَدَبَّرُونَ الْقُرْآنَ.
You can apply this 2 or 3 places. One is after Hajj. You think that's it, you know, I've done my Hajj, I'm all right now, that kind of thing, you know, and that's really, the journey really starts. You start thinking, I've just got to maintain that now, caliber. And the other one is when you finish your degree, you think, oh, I've done my bit now, I've got my first and whatever, I'm all right, you know, but no, you go to the employer, and, you know, and if things get in the rest of the life, you have to apply it, and that's a hard bit. There's a quote which I always share in the classroom. It's not just the aptitude, but the attitude which takes you to the altitude. So it's just about, you know, it's not just about doing a bit of this, I've done a bit, you know. We also sometimes tell the kids, oh, you're very clever, you're brilliant. They think, oh, I'm all right. The teacher said I'm clever. I don't have to do any work. So if you say, you're working really hard, I like what you've done, you know, then that's slightly different. It's just a few things that I can just already see in that, you know, all right, it's not just about, you think this is it, this is, you know. Yes,
but runs true in a lot of things. And I think I just find the idea of observing the length as a really powerful thing to see across the Quran. So next time you read a verse, just notice which bits He's made long or which bits Allah has made short, and which bits, etc.
Like so somebody say, oh, you haven't helped me because I asked you to help. And you come back and say, yeah, I didn't help you, but I did this and 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 this. You can't, it gets hooked.
So, and Jazakallah khair, we'll keep these short and sweet, but hopefully these are useful reflections, and inshallah something for you to do and reflect on later.
You haven't told us all the...
You have to come every week. I did the lawnmower the first lesson actually.
Oh, you won't tell us the whole thing?
I've done it before. I'll do it for you. Actually, I'll write it again inshallah if people want it. Shall I write it quickly? Or do I need to make this longer?
I've got 2 of them. One of them is a bit folded.
2 of the... Oh! So, I'll give it you as a sneak preview. So... the red knot. Okay, so L is length of verse. When I say length, I mean, as I was explaining to the students today, it's not strictly just length of verse, it's length of anything, and it's comparative. So it's all relative, why is this bit longer, this bit short, etc. People take it very literally, so this is a short ayah. It's not really about that, it's about comparisons. So A is finding another verse. So finding 2 verses which are talking about the same topic, or 2 verses which are related, or the same word, another word, another verse, anything that is comparing two bits of the Quran with one another. W is when, or the context, which is what we had an example of today, knowing the revelation behind the ayah and how that relates to kind of what was said. Let me make this so people can actually see. N is the name of Allah, or names of Allah. This is the specific name of Allah used at the end of the verse. I was going to use one of those ones today, but I thought I'd do the order that we're following. So why has Allah Azza wa Jal used this name at the end of that ayah when He's not used a different name? For example, I'll show you a quick one of that because it's literally just above here. So here, when Allah Azza wa Jal is talking about eating halal food, Allah Azza wa Jal says you shouldn't. He then says that this is haram for you. So He says kind of khamr and drinking. It was dead meat and blood and the meat of swine or pig. And then He goes, whoever is kind of in need can eat it. But what's interesting is Allah Azza wa Jal at the end says, Inna Allah ghafurun rahim. Now you might take that for granted, but if I told you, if I'm in a classroom setting and I say, look, you all have to do your like if anyone does not do their homework next week is kind of in trouble. And then at the end I say, yeah, but I'll forgive you if it's okay. It's an interesting way to finish a sentence, to say after saying this is not allowed, this is not allowed, this is not allowed, but I'm forgiving and merciful. So it's why has Allah chosen those names after listing things which are prohibited? And there's lots of things to kind of consider. But those, when you start paying attention to the names of Allah at the end of each ayah, you really begin to notice that the Quran is far more sophisticated than we can kind of give it credit for. M is kind of the general meaning. So this is taking a step back and just understanding what's the ayah actually saying and what do I take from it. O is order. So the order of the kind of verses, sentences, surahs. Why is this been placed? Why is the Fatiha the Fatiha? Why is it the first surah? Why is Surah An-Nas, which is the last surah? Why is this verse before this verse, this passage before this passage, this word before that word? Why is Iyaka na'budu, not na'budu Iyaka, and stuff like this? There's another ayah. Yeah.
So they'll just put the bihi here before لغير الله. In the other ayah, وَإِلَّا لِغَيْرِ اللَّهِ بِهِ. Obviously the meaning is completely different.
Yeah. So the next one is, and that's true. You'll notice things like that. So that's an example of another verse where you can compare two different verses in two parts of the Quran. And why is this one placed there and this one placed there in the context? The next W is words chosen, which is why has this word been chosen? It's similar to names of Allah, but this is almost like a subsect of this. But why has Allah said this specific phrasing of this kind of sentence? Why has He not chosen a different one? E is examples. So sharing an example which can illustrate the meaning, an example of a story or something. And R is relate to today or relate to you.